God, Harvey, what do you have in that cooler?
Slivovitz. I drink what my health report describes as a toxic level of alcohol.
Alfred Molina stars in the TNT 6-hour miniseries The Company, playing Harvey Toriti, also known as the Sorcerer, a hard-drinking old-school operations leader who teaches Chris O'Donnell's new guard CIA Jack to bend the rules. Alfred explains the difference between his way of playing spy games compared to the new recruit.
The Sorcerer somehow represents the old way of doing when before the CIA became the CIA. It was manned by kind of guys who were a little bit on the edge of things. They were very individualistic, a bit, sort of a bit rebellious. They bent the rules when they thought it was necessary. They weren't as well regulated or as corporate as it became. And so he belongs to a kind of an older style of espionage.
The Sorcerer, a former military man who relied on improvisation in the field, was more willing to do dirty business.
He has a protege, Jack, the character that Chris O'Donnell plays, who's a generation younger. And he, in a sense, represents the new CIA. The guys that kind of went to they went to university. They studied politics or world economics. They have a kind of intellectual academic approach to the same job. Whereas Harvey belongs to a generation that were a bit more rough and ready.
The Company was originally intended as a feature film, executive produced by Ridley and Tony Scott, but there were so many stories that needed to be told, it was extended to a 6-hour miniseries beginning Sunday, August 5th on TNT.
More than you know. But in order to be a player, you got to cross over into the wilderness of mirrors. So, Oscar. Well, you don't mind if I call you Oscar, do you? You've never thought about defecting, have you?
Toriti, for this, you bring me out in the freezing cold?
Oh, don't lose your water, chum. I'm just pulling your leg. Man, you Russians ought to lighten up a little bit. Maybe get laid once in a while. Now, the only reason I mentioned defection is because I'm concerned about your family.
What about my family?
Well, suppose you kick the bucket, Oscar. Would your family get a pension?
If you are threatening me, I must inform you that there are 2 sharpshooters with your head in their telescopic sights.
Well, if I don't make it off the ice, Oscar, you can bet your ass you won't make it off either. Now, I'm concerned with what would happen to your family if we start killing each other off. Oh, by we, I mean the KGB and the CIA. I mean, after all, we're not mafia clans. We're civilized organizations who just happen to be on either side of a divide, and we don't see eye to eye on things like, what makes free elections free, and not being afraid of being woken up in the middle of the night and dragged off to some Siberian labor camp, that kind of thing. We must be careful to, well, that is, your KGB and my CIA, not to hurt each other's people.
As far as I know, we are not hurting any CIA people.
Well, you don't know very far, because one of my people's in your custody right now.
But I am given regular updates of all our activities in Moscow and Berlin.
Now, this particular person fell off our radar screens, hasn't been seen for 2 days in Budapest.
Ah, Hungary. I'm afraid that complicates matters, Harvey. The Hungarian AVH is completely autonomous.
Autonomous, my ass. The KGB runs the AVH like it runs every other intelligence service in Eastern Europe. You KGB guys take a crap, the AVH flushes the toilet. Oscar, what would happen if I were to reach inside my jacket now, pull out my handgun, and shove it up against your Stalin-loving Ruski gut?
I would say it would be a form of suicide.
Looks like your sharpshooters lost their competition of hide-and-seek against my crew.
Harvey.
How would you like a new blowhole, Oscar?
Пожалуйста.
Oh, damn. I forgot to load it.
Ты что, с ума сошел?
Anything happens to my guy, Oscar, I'm loading this gun and I'm coming after you.
Проклятые американцы, все
My guy
идиоты,
doesn't
дураки!
come back, your wife starts collecting your pension!
How'd you know I spoke English?
Americans have a certain walk.
How do I walk?
With false confidence.
The Company, based on Robert Little's novel, explores the CIA from the Cold War to when the Berlin Wall came down and some of the decisions that were made to protect the nation. Chris O'Donnell stars as Jack McAuliffe, an Ivy League grad freshly recruited for service into the newly formed Central Intelligence Agency. Intrigued by the mysteries surrounding the world of spies, Chris says he downloaded the book to his iPod.
Well, like it says in the book, I mean, there's no textbooks for espionage. I mean, it really, and the book makes all these references to Alice in Wonderland, how you're being, thrown into this unknown world with no sure way of how you're going to get out and not worrying about it. I mean, you've got to be able to go in there and kind of deal. Beginning of the movie, when he's recruiting these guys, says, we're looking for kind of, guys that are imaginative and are very aggressive in attaining the goals that they want, and I think it's a very specific breed.
Chris talks about how the CIA shaped his naive character.
Someone who is very idealistic, coming out of Yale and being recruited by the CIA, very excited going over to Berlin for his first assignment, and probably a little green and realized that it's working with the sorcerer is very much an eye-opening experience, and I think that all the experiences he has in Berlin and in Budapest and the Bay of Pigs, these are the events that really helped to shape him as a person.
Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin in the Batman franchise, is in good company with the original Batman, Michael Keaton, and Alfred Molina, who was Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. The Company is a 6-hour miniseries beginning August 5th at 8 p.m. on TNT.
Disinformation agent. He'd be programmed to give us his history, chapter and verse, without sounding like he made it up.